Thank you, Acting President. And I'm very pleased to stand up to speak to the Wildlife Rescue Victoria Bill. And again, it's a crossbench bill that is born out of the passion of the person who brought it to the House. This is a bill that really exemplifies why Mr Medic is in this place today. It is the reason why he was elected. It was his supporters, and I'm very pleased to support this bill. And, you know, as we've heard, it does, amongst other things, coordinate wildlife rescue, rehabilitation and relief as part of Victoria's emergency response. And I'll get to that in a minute. It removes public confusion and uncertainty about what to do to help wildlife in an emergency circumstance. And as I say, I'll get to that later. And of course, it improves governance and transparency in relation to the care, protection, rehabilitation and release of wildlife. Now, as someone who owns a wildlife reserve and has done for nearly 2 decades, I feel very passionate about protecting wildlife. And as someone who also had a bushfire, go through that reserve, I understand the devastation that a fire can bring to our wildlife, to our native fauna. And it is devastating and it is horrific. And this bill will assist us in providing appropriate care in those circumstances. It will enable those volunteers to be well trained, to understand the best ways to assist, at that time of an emergency. And I think I'd just like to possibly put Ms Lovell's mind at ease and Ms MacArthur's mind at ease that this bill doesn't affect members of the community who want to help animals. It doesn't affect neighbours, friends, relatives and Good Samaritans who want to help wildlife. It only affects volunteers deployed under the Emergency Services Act as wildlife rescue volunteers. So that is what the bill does. It is about the volunteers that are deployed under the Emergency Services Act as wildlife rescue volunteers. It ensures that when they enter a danger zone, they do so safely. It ensures that the volunteers who want to help animals in those emergency situations know what they're doing. But it keeps any legislative hands off Good Samaritans, friends and neighbours from performing those spontaneous acts of care and kindness to animals in need. It fills, I think, a necessary part of, if you read the whole, Ms Lovell, I think from the beginning this bill is really specific, directed at the emergency. The bill is about volunteers in circumstances of emergency. It's about volunteers deployed under the Emergency Services Act. If I could just yet again clarify for Ms Lovell that these are about volunteers deployed under the Emergency Services Act. This is not about someone seeing an animal that needs assistance on the side of the road. This is sensible and practical, and it is confined legislation. It is a very specific task, and it will make a difference to that wildlife. So, yet again, I'm very pleased to support this bill, and I commend it to the House.